Is it here? Is it here? Is it
Hey,
here?
what's up, dude? It is here, okay?
Alright.
Just calm down, because I've never seen anybody so impatient, Benny. I swear to God, it's like your whole life just depended on getting the last copy off the presses.
Yeah.
So you ready for SHOCKTOBERFEst?
Yeah, SHOCKTOBERFEST.
We're only doing 4 episodes this year.
Well, we gotta cut down on time.
Yeah. And I think, with what's here, we
What's
already
the first
know.
episode gonna be?
Oh, gee. I have no idea. How's it going, everybody? I'm Wild Man Wes.
And I'm the Big Bad Wolf Benny.
And welcome to something a little different this year, due to time constraints and everything. Welcome to SHOCKTOBERFEST 2019 Abridged. We're only going to be doing 4 episodes this year, but don't worry, next year we'll get back on track, I think, probably. So, the first of 4 movies we are going to do this year is the 1982 classic Creepshow.
Ba-boom!
It is a collaboration between Stephen King and the late, great George A. Romero. This movie is based kind of an homage on the 50s EC comics of Tales from the Crypt, The Vault of Horror, and The Haunt of Fear. I had to memorize that enough times to make sure I got it right. So in this movie, there are 5 vignettes, basically, or short stories. And we're going to pretty much narrow them down as quick as possible. It's the 101. I'll make sure I do it as best as I can. It does take a lot out of me, but who gives a right? We do it for you. So our first short story is called Father's Day. This scene takes place within the Grantham house. It's basically a family of rich snobs, and every year they celebrate Father's Day because the patriarch was killed on Father's Day by his daughter Bedelia, who was pretty much his slave and was abused all throughout her life.
Pretty much had her guy killed.
Oh yeah, her fiance was killed on a hunting trip. Sounds something out of like a Dick Cheney situation, right? But anyways, every year Bedelia comes to his grave, has some time, tries to talk a little bit about why she did what she did. And this year, her father comes back from the grave and kills her. Not just her, but also kills one of the other family members, a in-law, and the maid. All because he wanted his cake. We forgot to talk about that because that's all he ever wanted every year was his damn cake.
Hey, I mean, don't we all?
So that's one. Now we got 4 more to go. The second one is the tragedy or the lonesome death of Jordy Verrill. This is about a country bumpkin that sees a meteor flying through the sky, lands in his backyard. He thinks he's going to get some money from the college if he takes it there. Cracks open after he pours some water on it. He's a big nunkhead, as he says. And he starts to touch a little bit of the blue goo that comes out of that meteor. And shortly after, he starts to notice little changes in his body. He starts getting some moss and some grass on his fingers, and his body starts accumulating more, and he ends up turning into a hybrid Moss Man. I mean, you know, with He-Man, Moss Man came up later on in like 84.
Moss Man, I have the green.
Yes, he does. And Jordy is so just beside himself. He never has any good luck, and for his only good luck, he decides to put a shotgun shell in his head. Lonesome death of Jordy Verrill.
Fun little tidbit too, Stephen King actually plays.
Yes, he does. Moving on to the third segment. This one is called Something to Tide You Over. In this one, it's a man who is pretty much upset about the fact that his wife has had an affair with a TV actor, and he decides he's going to get revenge on them by abducting them, pretty much on one side and another, puts them on different sides of an island that he lives on privately, buries them up to their necks in sand towards the tide, and they have to hold their breaths while the tide goes over them. They end up dying anyways, and as he tries to relive the capturings that he films of them dying, being a avid filmer, the spirits of the deceased come back, and wouldn't you know it, they turn the tides on him.
Get it?
I see what they did there.
Yep.
Play on words.
So they decide to do what he did to them. And he can hold his breath for a long time.
Well, we hope so. We never really know.
Yeah, we never know. Now, on to the fourth of 5, we have The Crate.
My personal favorite.
This one is a very convoluted one because there's a lot of different characters in this one. It takes place at another university where the university comes across something in the archaeology department. A crate. Don't know what's in it.
It's been there for more than 75 years.
Pretty much. And as soon as some of the, let's see what, there was the janitor that goes to
Janitor,
investigate it.
students.
And they end up getting killed by whatever's in there. So, 2 of the professors go and investigate it, but we have to backtrack because one of the professors has a wife that is just a...
Played by the great...
Adrienne Barbeau.
Oh.
Pitter patter.
Let's get at her.
Yep. And the husband of Adrienne Barbeau in this segment is getting really pissed off of how she treats him, and he decides he's going to take her down to the crate and pretty much, you know... Oops. Kills her. And the other professor that's been distraught by all the horrific incidents in this segment doesn't know what the other one is doing, but the other one decides he's going to bury the crate in the middle of the ocean.
It's not an ocean, it's a ravine.
Oh, the ravine. Yeah, ravine. Hey, it's New England.
Water,
it's
whatever.
New England.
Yeah, they're all taking place in New England. It's funny.
Pretty much. So moving on to the 5th and final segments. They're creeping up on you. It's about a germaphobe and...
British socialite, pretty much.
Upson Pratt. He doesn't like anybody. He wants to take everything for his own. It sounds like a lot of people nowadays in the big business world. He doesn't like cockroaches, and they're infestating his apartment, his big penthouse suite, mind you.
Which, mind you, too, is also pretty much pest-proof, or so we're led to believe.
Exactly. And unfortunately, in this segment, his apartment is dealing with rolling blackouts. He's trying to evade a lot of phone calls from the widow of a man that he pretty much took a business from. And you figure out that her voice is pretty much summoning the cockroaches into his apartment. They consume him, and he dies. That's pretty much it. Except the beginning and the end. A little boy...
You find out, like, the little boy's reading the same comic that I just showed you that his father took away from him. And, well, he noticed when you open the book the next time, the voodoo set is missing from the comics. You know, you remember how you used to send in your comic books? There'd be, like, coupons that you send in and they'd send you stuff. Well, the voodoo thing's missing, and you know, the father's, like, having heart pains, and you see the little boy, and he's got to take my comic. Well, yeah, So, yeah.
A lot of good.
And also a little fun tidbit about that is, I'm pretty sure that was Stephen King's son playing the young man.
We'll have to research that again.
I'm like 99% sure.
Ready for another shot, Dad?
Yeah.
So that's Creepshow in a nutshell. So we're going to talk about, as usual, the things we like and the things we don't like, and we're going to grade it for you. So let's talk about the things we like. Well, pretty much, how about the things we like? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The special effects are by the great Tom Savini. Has done many things, the original Friday the 13th, the original Dawn and Day of the Dead, From Dusk Till Dawn, you name it, he's done it.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, I could go on and on about it, but I'm just saying, everything in general.
I think what I like, this is probably one of the very first, like, anthology movies we got. Maybe not the first, but this is probably the biggest one where it kind of became...
Well, yeah, I mean, because if you think about it with, like, TV shows prior to that, you had The Twilight Zone, you had Night Gallery.
But this is, like,
Thriller.
the first movie that kind of gave you, like, 5 little movies in it.
True.
So, kind of set the standards. Now we have, you know, Trick or Treat, which is one of my personal favorite horror movies. You know, you got Tales from the Hood. You got multiple, like, you know, sequels to Creepshow.
Yeah, and I'm getting...
three.
There's 2. I'm going to get into that a little bit on what I don't like later.
So, it was kind of cool that this kind of introduced that, because like I said, it's like a movie that gives you 5 little movies. I mean, could have easily been done in a TV show, but it was kind of cool that you could see it in the theater, stuff like that. So, That's what I liked about it. It kind of introduced us to this anthology kind of thing.
Now moving on to our favorite segments of the movie. Benny, you said...
I said the crates. That's one of my favorites because of obviously Adrienne Barbeau.
Yeah.
I love her character. I love her in general. But just the creature looks really cool. You know, you find out that he's from Antarctica. They found him. He's been locked in this crate for 75 years. It's all he really knows now.
Pretty much the epitome of like the abominable snowman almost.
Pretty much. And he kind of, looks really cool. Like I love whenever they do a close up of him, how they black everything out and they put a red light behind it to make him really pop. So that was my favorite story in the movie.
I didn't say my favorite one. I mean, I love pretty much most of them. I would say They're Creeping Up on You is probably my favorite. I mean, the concept of being isolated and nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and when all the cockroaches come up on the late E.G. Marshall, I love everything that he's been in too. It's just really just disturbing, especially the end of his demise. I would have to say that. So now it's time to move on to things that we don't like. I have a little bit, but I mean, if you've got something. It's an amazing movie, but
it's a very amazing movie, but there's always going to be something we don't like about it. Why don't you go first while I collect my thoughts, sir?
Okay.
You seem like you already know what you're talking about.
Well, the thing about Creepshow is a lot of horror fans embrace the whole collective to a degree. There were 2 sequels that came out. Creepshow 2 came out in 1987, made about 3 times the money that they put into production. However, what happened with this one was that they only had 3 segments instead of 5. They had 2 that were supposed to be a part of it. One didn't make it, but it ended up being in the Tales from the Darkside movie. And then there was another one that didn't make it also due to time constraints and budget. But there was a Kickstarter program that put it out. There will be those titles in the description below to look on that. And unfortunately, it was still panned by reviewers anyways. I mean, you still had Tom Savini doing the makeup art and whatnot. He played the creep. While he was a consultant on the movie for special effects, but Howard Bergman, one of the original makeup artists for Nightmare on Elm Street, did most of the work on that. And then there was one in 2006 that was straight to video, Creepshow 3. Had nothing really to do with Creepshow to begin with, and other than the end.
Took a name and tried to really...
Yeah, and I mean, they did I believe there was 5, if not 6, segments in that one, and they weren't that great. I mean, it's good for a one-watch, but after that, throw it off. There is a light at the end of the tunnel with this. Recently, the streaming service Shudder has put out a TV series based on Creepshow. I've seen a couple little teasers online. I cannot wait to watch the full, episodes. I'm excited for that. But, like I said, with some of the movies that came afterwards, and I would say kind of the stigma. That's why I should say the stigma of it. But, all in all, I mean, I'll still watch the movies to a degree. Guilty pleasure.
I guess the only really bad thing I could say is a couple of the scenarios, the stories in there weren't really horror related. Like you said, the one, the Lonesome
Death of Jordy Verrill.
Not really. I mean, it's more sad, I guess, than it is scary.
Yeah.
And even the Turn the Tides one.
Something to tide you over.
It didn't really get horrific till the end. They came back as ghosts. Otherwise, it could have just been an easy crime movie or something.
Pretty much.
So I
like
mean, I guess
almost.
if I had to critique the movie, that'd be my only complaint, was that a couple of stories weren't really horror related until certain parts.
So I take it Something That Tied You Over was the one you didn't care for the most?
I like it as a mystery or something like that, but
Okay.
it was not scary. It wasn't horrific. I
got you. And going on for me, like the Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, that's the one that
it's just like I said. I mean, the only thing that saved that one was Stephen King's acting.
Yeah,
He was hilarious in it.
he was.
But I mean, it really wasn't horrific. When he got, he knew if he got in the water, everything was just going to grow.
He was the horror version of Charlie Brown, a sad sack.
But otherwise, I mean, the movie in general is pretty good. If I had to grade it, I'd probably give it a solid B+.
B+? Okay.
And just based on just the episodes that weren't really too scary. They have a horror theme to it, but I guess somebody could look at it that's kind of scary.
I agree with you on that.
I just don't agree.
We're going to make this unanimous. I'm going to give this one a B+ too. I mean, it is a very, very good movie. It's very near and dear to our hearts. Like we've said before, there might be some things that, may not have aged well. but at the same time, the first movie for sure is one you can always watch over and over and over.
Oh yeah,
again.
I always watch
not
it around
just
this time of year.
Not just for the death and gore and whatnot, but also the comedy. There's a lot of comedy in all the segments.
Well, I feel like comedy and horror just go hand in hand. Like,
oh, I mean, look at the 80s alone.
I mean, well, the slasher, yeah.
The slasher genre made a lot of social commentary that was.
And you know what? And that's fun because you know what? You got life and death, and it's supposed to be funny and it's supposed to be scary. So that's why they go so well together. And this movie definitely bangs on both of them.
Exactly. Well, other than that, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure that you like, share, and as always, push the red button. And don't forget to ring that bell for instant notifications on Dragonfire Entertainment. DJC will be here shortly on the other episodes that we have for the Shocktoberfest 2019 Abridged. But until then, I'm Wildman Wes.
And I'm your big bad wolf, Benny.
And stay tuned for the other 3 episodes. See you soon and stay scared. Okay, while I was editing this episode, I noticed something during the review. During the good things I mentioned, the special effects, I forgot something. The cast. I goofed big. So just to make sure that everybody's happy, that somebody doesn't go into the comment section saying, why the did you not talk about all the actors? Here's the list of everybody that I forgot. Terrific. Now, back to the end credits, and we will see you next time.
Man, Wes is taking a long time in the bathroom, and I really gotta pee. I should go check it out. Wes? Are you okay?
God, stop me now. I'm having such a good time. Having a ball.
I guess I'll wait till he's done.
Stop me now.